friends, I'm Heather. Welcome back to Belle's Library. Today we're going to be doing a really fun themed reading vlog, but before we get into all that, please subscribe if you haven't already, and also my Instagram and Goodreads are down below if you want to talk bookish on more channels with me. And today we're actually going to go back and we're going to look at what the oldest books on my Goodreads TBR are, and we're going to read those books. So I actually started this adventure a couple months ago, and I believe I filmed an intro, but it seems to have gotten lost, or I'm just having a little dementia and I didn't actually film an intro, but I did read the 3 oldest books that I had on my Goodreads TBR at the time. Now, back when I actually started my Goodreads, which was only like a couple years ago now, I was kind of new to getting back into reading and getting back into the bookish, getting into the bookish community. I hadn't really found BookTube before, and then I found it and I was just like inundated with all these books I wanted to read, and I was like, yes, this is amazing. Started my Goodreads account. I was like writing down all these books I wanted to read, and I was like, okay, we need to like fix this up. So I think a lot of them that were added in were probably added in at about the same time, but I started at the like top of what my written down notes were, so it should be the oldest books that I had that I was kind of wanting to read and that first had intrigued me. So we have 3 books we're going to be reading through to see what I think of them, and if what I kind of wanted to read back then is things that I still am interested in and are still going to work for me, or maybe I've like learned and kind of have a better idea of my reading at this point. I don't know. I mean, I've been reading a ton of books. Last year I read over 100. I've read like 150 so far this year. So I'm sure I've learned something within that amount of time, right? Maybe, I don't know. So let's go ahead and run through the 3 books I'll be reading through this vlog, and then we'll get started into all of that reading. So the oldest book on my Goodreads TBR was Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I still haven't read any Sarah J. Maas when I started this, and this seemed like a good place to start. I picked this up. It's a gorgeous edition of Throne of Glass, and it was time to just read this already, right? So we are going to be reading Throne of Glass in this. So if you haven't read Throne of Glass, which I feel like I'm definitely in the minority on that, this is following Selena, and she has been put into these salt mines. So Selena was like a very well-known, esteemed assassin, and she was caught and put in these salt mines, and most people like die pretty quickly afterwards, but she is surviving, and the prince shows up one day and offers her her freedom if she will become his champion in this new competition that the king's putting on to find the royal assassin. And she basically has to act as this royal assassin for like 5 years or 7 years or something like that, and that's how she can kind of earn her freedom, is she can win this competition and serve her time doing that and then be free. So in Throne of Glass, we're following that kind of competition as she's doing that, and we're getting to know some of the other competitors and that kind of a thing. It's like a fantasy. I think there is a little bit of romance going on in here as well. I would say that that's, I think, going to grow from here forward. But yes, that is going to be our first book and the oldest one on my TBR. So the next book that came up was The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender. I can see my appeal and why I wanted to add this one into my TBR. This is something that seemed really interesting to me, and I must have heard it from one of the booktubers I was watching back then, but I don't feel like I hear as many people talk about this book anymore. And so kind of curious that this was one of the first books that really intrigued me. So we'll have to see how it goes. But basically, this one we're following Ava Lavender, and she is a normal girl in most respects, except for that she was born with the birds or the wings of a bird, and so she's kind of trying to figure out how that is. And so it's kind of her coming of age story as she's trying to discover herself, but also deal with the fact that she has wings and how that is. And then we also have a newcomer to town, Nathaniel Sorrows, and he becomes obsessed with Ava, thinks she's an angel, and his obsession with her kind of culminates in a big crescendo at the summer solstice event when she's 16 years old. So that's kind of the setup of the story and the trajectory of it. I'm assuming it's going to be kind of a more magical realism type feel to the story, kind of more of a contemporary fantasy. And the last book that we're going to be reading for this vlog is The Bear and the Nightingale by Katherine Arden. And this one is kind of a Russian folklore story. We are following a family on the edge of the Russian wilderness, and most of the year it is winter and cold there. So the youngest kid in this household, Vasilisa, she doesn't really mind. She likes to curl up and listen to her nurse's fairy tale stories near the fire, and one of her favorite stories is about Frost, the blue-eyed winter demon. And her nurse kind of tells her that, you know, he is someone to be feared, but if you're taking care of the household and forest spirits, that they will protect you from any evil. But Vasilisa's mother does die, and her father remarries, and her new stepmother is fiercely devout, and she just doesn't believe in leaving out offerings for any of these spirits. And once this starts happening, things just seem to really start going wrong, and Vasilisa, she kind of just knows that this isn't right, and she's trying to do what she can herself, but the crops are starting to die, it's starting to get colder, there's fires happening, just things are not going well, and she can only do so much as just herself. So we're kind of following that journey, and I know that this one actually is Katherine Arden's debut novel, which is super awesome because I have enjoyed some of her middle grade novels, Small Spaces and Dead Voices, and so I'm curious as to how this is going to go with a young adult audience and a more in-depth fantasy. So those are going to be the three books we have. So we have Throne of Glass, The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender, and The Bear and the Nightingale. So we're going to go ahead and move into the vlog content of me getting through all three of those books, and I will be back in a minute to wrap this up. Hey guys, I'm just about to run in and do some grocery shopping, but I did start The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender, and just wanted to update you guys. I am about a third of the way into it, and honestly, I remembered like wanting to read this book and kind of the cover and the title and everything, but I didn't really remember a lot about it until this video came around, and I was like, okay, and I was trying to like remember who it was that like recommended it and where I heard of it, and I don't really remember, but it's definitely different than I guess I was really expecting it to be. Like, we haven't even really like met Ava yet, and like in the synopsis we talk about like Ava trying to find herself and meeting this guy Nathaniel, and like nope, don't have any of those people yet, and we're a third of the way into the story. Like, we're kind of just, it's like a life story through the generations from her great grandma to her grandma to, we're on like her mom right now, and we're talking about like their lives a little bit and kind of some of their strange abilities that they had and stuff like that, and people that they loved and lost, and just, I don't know, it's just kind of just moving through the generations. But we are at her mom at this point, and so I think we should be getting to her soon. They have talked about like her being born with wings already though, and how like doctors tried to see if there was a way to be able to remove the wings at all, but they're all like worked into her circulatory system and muscular system and everything, and she would just lose too much blood to actually do so. So she is going to be living with them, and that's just the way it's going to be for her. But it is definitely like a scientific conundrum, and so yeah, it's been, actually really quick to read. I've, again, read like a third of the books. I'm about 100 pages in, and it's, I mean, taken me probably less than 2 hours to read that, which is pretty good for me. I'm not the fastest reader. So I'm hoping to finish this one today because it's the end of the month. Today's the last day of the month, and I'm really trying to finish it today so I can start with my new TBR tomorrow, and I'm supposed to finish this for Belle's Bookland, so I just need to make it happen. And I think I can because, like I said, it's been pretty fast. So overall, I'm really enjoying the writing style so far, and I'm curious as to where this is going. It's just different than I was expecting it to be, but it's intriguing me, I guess, is the best way to say it. Hey guys, I am back with some updates for The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. I say updates, but I finished it. So, here to update on the fact that it's done. It's over. It was a pretty quick book. Very easy to just read. It was very quick. I really enjoyed the writing style. I think that her writing is beautiful and really like painted a picture in my mind of this town and these characters and the house they're in, and just like I can still envision it so much, and I really enjoyed. She has kind of this like lyrical type writing that I really enjoy. So definitely enjoyed that piece of it. Other than that, like, not that I didn't enjoy it, but like the characters, there weren't like anything special to where I was like, these guys are amazing. I think honestly what really just I hated was the end. Like the end just ruined this book so much for me. It could have like been better and more if the ending hadn't just like gone where it did. Like, there's like this huge scene that we kind of culminate to on the summer solstice, which is kind of what it says in the synopsis when you're reading it. And so then that happens, and it's like, okay, choices were made with this decision to have the book happen here, but then there's like still some pages, there's a couple more chapters you're going through, and then that's very ending. It was just when I was like, no, don't like that at all. I was just like, whoa, apparently I'm gonna miss the ledge. Yeah, no, I didn't like the way that it was ended. I felt like it was drained of all hope out of this book. Like there were several moments when the author's just basically saying that romantic love doesn't stick around, it doesn't stay, it's awful, things just don't happen there. There's a lot of talk about love with some of your family members, but then like sometimes there's not, and some, you know, love that grows over time with some friends and stuff and that kind of thing. But overall it just was like just sad and depressing, and I didn't like it. Did not like the way this went. I don't know, because I did enjoy a lot of the story. I liked the backstory and the fact that we followed this family through generations, and we really found out about them and some of their quirky, odd pieces to them. And, you know, I liked that magical realism piece to the story. It's just like literally just the last quarter, I would have way rather gone a different direction. And a little bit more like, maybe we like love a little bit, somewhat, kind of, maybe. I don't know. So overall, I'm giving it a 3-star. That's kind of where it's hanging out at, because, you know, as I'm thinking about this, and we're reading some of these oldest books that I put on my TBR, so this was really when I was starting to get back into reading a little bit and just kind of trying to explore more. And I'm wondering, because these books were from so long ago, and not that any of them have been like dreadful, but they just haven't like totally hit the spot, if I have really kind of started honing in on things that I actually really like in books, and books that are gonna be what I want. So I'm curious about these next couple books, see how they go. See if Heather from a couple years ago when I started compiling all of this actually knew what the heck she wanted to read. Anyways, again, I'm gonna go to the next book. All right, guys, so Throne of Glass, I have been reading quite a bit of, and I should have probably updated you guys before this, but I totally forgot that I needed to. So I'm on page 222 in here. So I'm probably a little over halfway. I think there's like 400 pages. It's like 420 pages. So yeah, I'm about halfway into the lovely Throne of Glass here. I have to say I love this edition. This is technically the front. So beautiful. And I love the inside too. So pretty. Just beautiful, guys. Just beautiful. Anyways, we're not here to talk about the beauty of this book, though. So, Throne of Glass is not going as well as I expected it to. Not that I'm disliking it in any way. And it reads really easily and fast, and I am adoring the short chapters. Like, the fact that the chapters are, like, a lot of times 6-7 pages each or something, like it makes me just be like, oh, just one more chapter, we're just going. So I definitely feel like I'm moving through it pretty quickly and I'm enjoying what I'm reading. It's just not anything like different or special for a book that's talked about so much. I'm like, okay, it literally is, I don't know. I kept reading it thinking like, this sounds a lot like Nevernight, where we have this assassin who goes to a school and they're training and doing all these competitions to win, and that's basically like what she's got going on, except for she's fighting for obviously a lot more, and you know, she has a gruesome backstory as when she was a kid and how she got trained, and the fact that she's 18 and she's like, you know, Adderland's assassin, and everybody kind of, she's notorious, but nobody really knows exactly who she is kind of crazy to me. But yeah, I'm kind of like, okay, nothing like super different or special there. We just got introduced to a new kind of plot line that's got a little more of a magical side to it, it seems like. So I'm excited to kind of see where that's going to go a little bit more. And I'm enjoying the relationships between her and Prince Dorian and is it Kaol? Is that how you say it? He's like the captain of the guard, and you know, they seem to like, she gets along with them well, and she's got like a certain personality to her that's very kind of snarky, and she's not going to take your shit, and I appreciate that, and I enjoy that, and the fact that she's still like that even with like the crown prince. You know, she's like, I don't really care that you're the prince, whatever. I'm very curious about this Princess Nehemia. I think she's definitely got a lot more to her than what's going on, and I don't know, there's like, I mean, it's an interesting story. It's just not like anything different or crazy to me. Like, it's just kind of a basic competition type story. Like, I don't know. So, but yeah, I mean, it's easy and light, and I can read and sit and read it and fly through it, and I'm liking that. So that's good. But yeah, I'm definitely just wanting a little bit more to it. I want something more. I'm not really sure what it is exactly. That's how I'm feeling about this at the moment. I am curious if you guys have read this, because I know a lot of people have read this series. Is it just like, because we're opening up to the series and it has been a little while since this has been written, I know, does the series just like really progress and get like better and better? Is this just kind of like the weekend of it and then we're gonna really pick up, or maybe it's just because I'm only halfway into the book? I don't know. Tell me how you guys feel about this series and what's going on with it. Hey guys, I finished Throne of Glass and I am excited that I've started into the series. Okay, so I really did enjoy Throne of Glass. I enjoyed getting to know the characters and kind of building up this world that is happening, and this you know, king who's just like brutal and taking out everybody else, and how maybe like our characters are gonna infiltrate and maybe try and change ways, but that's definitely not gonna be easy. I can tell that already. I'm intrigued by the love triangle that's definitely developing. There's a lot that like I'm intrigued by and I'm interested in, but like that needs more for sure. So I'm feeling like this book right now is really just like an introduction into everything. You're introducing yourself to all of the characters and the world and everybody's role and what's going to be happening in the rest of the series. I mean, there's things that happen in here. We have our competition and for Selena to try and win the king's, being the king's assassin and that kind of thing. So we do have that going on, and we've got this other evil spirit that she's trying to track down and figure out what's going on there, and that kind of thing. So there is like a plot to this story. It's not that there's not, but like it's just not like the most exciting plot or anything. And I just feel like there's so much more that's going to be going into this series, and it is 7 books, so I imagine that this just feels like it literally is just an introduction, So overall, I'm giving it 4 stars because I did definitely enjoy it. I feel like it was very easy to read and just like move through, and it was good. It was fun. I'm excited to see where it's going to go. It just wasn't anything like crazy, mind-blowing, anything like that, but I feel like this series has a lot of potential to go there and build up and just to get to know all these characters and everything so much more. I am really curious about Princess Nehemia. She's my like character that like I'm liking her. So we'll see how that goes. I really don't know a ton about this series, and so I'm excited that I really haven't spoiled myself very much for this. I think a lot of people right now are talking a lot more about ACOTAR and House of Earth and Blood and such by Sarah J. Maas, so I haven't gotten like super spoiled for what's going to happen in the series, so I'm excited about that. So anyways, I will be continuing the series. It was a good time, 4 stars, and we're going to continue into the next book in the series. This has been a long time coming. I'm finally starting The Bear and the Nightingale. I need to finish off this vlog, and I've been wanting to read this, and I don't know, it just hasn't happened. But I finally started The Bear and the Nightingale last night, and honestly, this is like down to the wire. I've already renewed this book twice from my library, and I have till Tuesday, and it's Sunday to finish this book because I have no more renewals, and it is due back to the library. So I'm like in crunch time here. This needs to happen. So last night I read 100 pages. I'm on page 98. So basically 100 pages of this. And the writing is like really kind of pretty. And sometimes I get a little lost in it if I'm getting sleepy. But like it's beautiful. And I'm really enjoying it. And that like has this kind of folktale, fairy tale kind of feel to it, and it's very like descriptive, but in a good way. It's not like over the top to where I'm just like, this is too much, but it's giving me enough to like feel the atmosphere and understand like what things are looking like and feeling like, and I'm kind of just really enjoying that. Kind of curious as to where this is going to go. At this point, we have met this family, and they lost their mother when their youngest sister, Vazia, was born. And the mom basically said, like, she's going to be like my mom, who seems to have had some kind of magical abilities to her. And so there's definitely something special about her. So now she's like, I think 6 or 7, and her dad went to Moscow to find a new wife so that she would have a mom and someone to help raise her and be a woman around the house, because her sister's going to be getting married, and he also was looking for wives for his 2 older sons as well. So very much lots of marriage stuff happening with everybody, but the new wife is a little odd, and so is Vazia a little bit. They both can see these, I don't want to call them demons necessarily, but like some kind of little beings. Like there's one that like lives in the oven, and he also comes out sometimes and will like do some sewing and helps kind of caretake the house. And then there's one in the stables that helps to caretake with the horses in the stables, but nobody else can really see them. So it's kind of like unusual, and I don't know that other people really know about them. So it's kind of different. There's a little bit like just some magical things happening throughout. There's a really interesting like story about the god of frost or something like that, the frost god, at the very beginning that I really enjoyed. And I'm like, I feel like that's some kind of foretelling for where this story is going to go. So I'm really kind of curious as to where that's going to go. But yeah, I mean, the story is really, it's only like barely over 300 pages, so I should be able to finish it up pretty quickly, and I'm enjoying it. I like the idea that this is a fantasy that isn't super long, but kind of has that folk tale, fairy tale kind of feel to it, because I do like my my fairy tales. I do like my fantasy to kind of have that. I tend to really enjoy that in a book. So yeah, overall, it's going well, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. And I will be finishing it up, hopefully, pretty darn fast. I did actually try to listen to this on audio, too, like a few weeks ago. And I just couldn't. I was getting super lost in everybody's names and different stuff. And I was like, okay, this is one of those books that I'm just going to have to read. And so, yeah, that's where we're at. This one definitely has to be a physical read. So I need to finish it and not resort to an audiobook. So this happened to me with City of Brass as well. I think maybe it's just like the more foreign names, it's hard for me to pinpoint them, maybe, or it could just be like a fantasy thing that has a lot of people and characters. It just sometimes gets a little confusing when I don't actually see it with my eyeballs. Good morning. Excuse my slightly wet hair here, but I just really wanted to update you guys before I finish this because it's probably gonna have to happen today. My book is due back today. I am on page 230 and I'm really enjoying this story and I'm excited to see where it's going to go. It's not like a super fast-paced, like action-y type of a book, but it's not slow-paced either. It's just like you're invested in the actual story and the folklore behind it and what's happening, and there's just this anticipation of things coming that you're just like holding on to. You're just like, no, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next? That kind of a feel, which I'm really just adoring. Also just adoring the atmosphere of just like the super cold, frosty weather, and then also this super warm oven inside the house where everybody's huddled up to keep warm, and you can just like feel that. And it's, I don't know, I feel like this would be perfect to really get you ready for winter. I feel like I'm reading it a little bit early, but I will say it's starting to cool down outside quite a bit. And when I say cool down, like at night it's getting into the 40s and I'm like freezing my butt off because, you know, living in California, it doesn't get that cold where I'm at. So that's cold for me. But yeah, I am really enjoying this. I will say I was trying to find a good word earlier for what these little beings that kind of helped around the household or in the barn or with there's like a one that's in the forest and the water. They're more like spirits, I think is a good term that I've been seeing in here. So like a water spirit and a wood spirit, the household spirit, that kind of thing. The household guy, he's called Domovoi, and the one, oh, what's the guy in the barn with the horses? I can't remember. I think it starts with a V, and I keep on thinking Vasilisa, but that's Vazia's like given name, so that's not quite right, but it's something close to that, I feel like. Anyways, just I think they are super adorable, and I'm loving the kind of clash of this new religion coming in with the old religion and the old gods, and you know, nobody's leaving out offerings for these spirits anymore, and they're getting really weak, and that means that this evil frost person is coming in, and he's like, everybody's getting weakened, it's my time to really strike, and he's starting to get stronger, and you're just like, come on, listen to Vazia, she knows what she's talking about. You gotta like leave offerings for these cute little guys. I don't think they're actually very cute from what they've been explained as, but in my mind they are. So I don't know, they're my favorite at the moment. I just love all of these creatures that she talks to, and they just, I don't know, I feel like I would want to take care of them. But yeah, I am really enjoying the story so far, so I definitely have to finish it up today. Thanks, Minnie. Yep, okay. Anyways, so I'll be back to update when I'm done, but overall it's going really well. Okay, I finished it. Finally, now I gotta run it to the library, but yeah, The Bear and the Nightingale was so fun. I really enjoyed the storytelling in here. It was just like I was sitting around a fire being told the story, and I just adored it so much. I almost feel like I was just thinking about this like an hour later, and I kind of feel like it gives me Narnia vibes in a certain way, just like the cold world that it's set in and the way it's told. It's been a long time since I've read that story, but for whatever reason, that came to mind for me. Anyways, I thought this was super cute and fun, and I can't wait to read the next one in the series. I think that Katherine Arden, I'm really starting to enjoy her storytelling quite a bit. She might be becoming a favorite author for me. I have read some of her Small Spaces series as well. It's like a middle grade horror series, and I've read two out of the 4 books that are going to be in the series, but the 3rd one just came out. The 4th one come out next year sometime. But anyways, this one I thought it was super cute, and I'm glad that I added it to my TBR way back when. And I'm gonna say this one's a 5-star. Super cute. So that's the 3 oldest books on my TBR and how it went. So anyways, I will wrap everything up in a minute in another clip here, like right now. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed seeing my journey reading those 3 books that were the oldest on my TBR. So I feel like we got kind of a broad range of ratings. We have a 3-star, which was The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava, Lavender. Is there a longer title than that? I don't know. If you know one, put it down below because that's a really long title. Then we had 4 stars for Throne of Glass, and my favorite of the 3, The Bear and the Nightingale. I definitely will say that I'm coming to realize that I enjoy fantasy quite a bit. I would say fantasy is definitely one of my favorite genres because I feel like I enjoy so many books in so many genres, but for some reason I do tend to rate fantasy higher than other books a lot of the time. I don't know. I think the idea of world building and the character development that can come with a fantasy just really I just love that. But I also know that some romance and contemporaries can really hit up there too. I just find that some of the other genres, as much as I will enjoy a book, it's a lot harder to get a 5-star out of me for whatever reason. But these are things that I'm learning, and going back and just thinking about those 3 books, would I have put them on my TBR now versus back when I did a couple years ago? I definitely think The Bear and the Nightingale, I definitely wanted to read, still very intrigued, and that would have been one that I would have put on my TBR and kept there, which we can see after reading it definitely works. Throne of Glass, I probably would have too. There's a lot of books that I feel like I kind of missed out on that were kind of in the hype and everybody was reading, and I want to go back and read those, but then also I always get pulled away by something newer, and so I don't get to go back and read some of those. I want to read through the series and see what more comes, because I have heard that it gets better as the series going, and I do feel like that first book, it's such a large series, it's just such a setup for more in the series, so I am curious, and I'm curious to see if I like the longer series like that. Maybe I get to know my characters more and I really get invested in this world more. So that is something that intrigues me, but also some of those other older series like City of Brass, I want to go back into the Shadowhunters. I haven't read anything by Cassie Clare. Very curious about that. So some of those I've just kind of missed out on. I still want to go back to. I think I would have still kept that on my TBR now, or put it on there now. The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava, Lavender, those are more hit and miss for me. I like magical realism. I like some contemporaries, some historical fictions, but they're not always a sure shot for me, and I'm not sure what exactly it is within that area that I can pick up and just know that I'm going to like that book, or if it's just always going to be kind of hit and miss, because sometimes they work for me and they're amazing, and sometimes a book like that just doesn't work as well for me. And I haven't really figured out where that would fit in there. So I probably still would have added it into my TBR, to be quite honest. So I'm glad that I did end up going back and reading it. I'm not sure that I would have gone back and read it without this video. I know I would have gone back and read the other 2, but that one may have just gotten lost in the shuffle. So I'm glad that I did this video and got to do that. And I've got some more series that I started that I get to continue, because always so many series to read. But that's gonna be it for me, and I hope that you guys are having a wonderful day. If you made it to the end here, put a snowflake down below for me, say hey, and I will talk to you guys soon.